Hi there, these comments are for AA. I'm just using your initials for privacy purposes, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL iBT. You completed an integrated speaking practice test. I think it is number 11 in my online TOEFL course. So let's hear what you have to say.
In the lecture, there were two speakers discussing about how learning could create sense of joy to the learners. One of the speakers said that teaching with more interesting and some encouraging ways will make learning easier and faster.
Now, one thing you're not saying here, it's not just creating more joy with learning, but it's making the learning more interactive. So I think that's a key point. Something that you want to introduce in the beginning of your response because it helps us understand the purpose.
By way of explanation, teachers have the ability to involve students to any subject by creating activities to practice their object.
Okay.
In addition, the speaker tightened that the relationship between students...
The speaker what? I'm having trouble hearing this. Hold on a minute. Let me go back.
In addition, the speaker tightened that
I'm having trouble with that. About 28 to 31 seconds of your response, you're saying something I cannot quite understand.
The between students and teacher can affect students concentrating and their listening to the lesson. For example,
I would say can affect students' concentration. So I think that's a key idea.
When a teacher becomes friendly, will make the students engaged to her or his lesson, and they will be careful listeners. Otherwise, they will be looking at their hand watch, waiting for the end of the class.
Yes. Or they'll be bored, right? It doesn't really say anything in the conversation about a hand watch, right? But I understand the point you're trying to make. Now, something that is a little bit hard for you right now, and I noticed this on the integrated writing practice test that you did the other day, it's hard for you sometimes to catch the idea, the main idea of what you're either reading or listening to. Like here, you never stated that these students are discussing how to make learning more interactive for students, or how teachers can make learning more interactive with students. So the fact that you didn't know that or didn't say that, that means that you don't really get the purpose. You don't understand what the purpose, I think, of the conversation was. All right, so let's take a look at the rubrics here. I think on the one hand, delivery, you're doing fairly well with delivery. I mean, I can understand most, not all, but I can understand a lot of what you're saying, which is good. You had pretty good control of your grammar, I think, in your vocabulary, but when it comes to topic development, you're not exactly getting what I consider the main point of the conversation. So you have omitted, I think here, a key idea. Right? So what this tells me is you're probably having some problems with your vocabulary in that you hear something, but you're not sure how to rephrase, paraphrase, or summarize that information. That's either problems with your listening or problems with your vocabulary. So with vocabulary, I have a suggestion for you. The main part of my website here, so I'd recommend for you, I think you can really benefit by improving your vocabulary. That seems to be a good strategy for you, noticing some of the weaknesses you're having with either reading or listening passages, and when you're speaking or writing about that information, you're sometimes not exactly sure how to express your ideas. So I'd recommend here in the vocabulary section of my course, that's step number 1, by the way, I think a good start with you would be lesson 3, vocabulary ebook of 200 basic words. Really focus on mastering those words, because that's going to allow you to paraphrase and summarize other people's ideas better. I think that would be important for you. Once you've done that, now I know you're a graduate student, so you have to have a higher vocabulary level than just basic. Then you can go to vocabulary lesson 4, and you can learn 500 words A to E. Then take all these quizzes to help you memorize the words. Then you can do vocabulary lesson 5, which is another 500 words E through P. Then you can do vocabulary lesson 6 to get the last 500 P through Z. If you can master the words in these lessons, this greatly expands your ability, I think, to talk about reading and listening passages. You'll be a lot more comfortable, I think, with your speaking and your writing than you are right now. All right? See what I'm saying? Okay, let's go to the score here. So I think you're still in pretty good shape. I'm going to put you at about 2.16 out of 4. 17 points out of 30 on this particular practice test. Now, for the purposes of our class, so we have the speaking here. So I gave you a score of 2.1. This is going to put you at about 75% on this practice test. The main thing is you just didn't catch the gist. You didn't get the main idea of what you listened to. You weren't able to express that. That's why I put you where I did. And remember, with the integrated practice test the other day, you also had some practice talking about the reading passages, the reading passage and the listening passage, and being accurate in your response. So again, this tells me you're having some problems when you're reading or listening. You're lacking the vocabulary that's helping you understand what it is you're reading and you're listening to. Anyway, thank you very much for completing the practice test.